So even though the Sixers traded for Buddy Hield and campaigned at the NBA trade deadline, then brought in Kyle Lowry on the buyout market, Philadelphia does have 2 roster spots remaining. So coming up on today's 76ers Now, players on the buyout market and in free agency, who the Sixers could sign for this stretch run. First, we're having a February sub-battle between 76ers Now, the GOAT channel, and Boston Celtics Today, the garbage channel. I hate the Boston Celtics. I'm looking at Celtics Today producer Smitty, and I'm seeing Allie Barefoot here to my right. She's the host of Celtics Today. Can't even hear me with the AirPods in, so I can talk some shit right now. I hate them. I hate the Boston Celtics. I hate Celtics Today. So please subscribe to the channel so we can kick their ass. With that, let's take a look at some buyout candidates for Philadelphia here. They're my coworkers. I do really like them, and they do great work here. But subscribe to the channel. We saw in the Miami game last night that the Sixers clearly need size, and they clearly need some rebounding help. Those are deficiencies on this roster. They needed another ball handler. They addressed it with Campaign and Kyle Lowry. They needed another shooter, ideally. They were able to bring in Buddy Hield. So with that, who are some players who could add some bulk, add some size to this roster to help the Sixers crash the glass? Because at times, they've gotten exposed. Free agent target number 1, Robin Lopez. He is not as good as his brother, Brook Lopez. That's why he was let go by Milwaukee, and he's currently without a job. Brook Lopez has done a great job, as they were the Twin Towers at Stanford back in the day, of expanding his game and getting up to modern times at the NBA level. He can knock down the 3. Robin Lopez cannot knock down the 3, but he can rebound the basketball. This year, 8.5 points per game, almost 5 boards. He was giving the Bucks about a block per night, 53.7% from the floor. If you ask me, he's probably the best backup center for Joel Embiid that you can find on the free agency market right now. This does bring up a pretty interesting conversation, because who would be the better backup center for Embiid once he comes back? Would it be Mo Bamba, who's a better athlete and much more springier, who adds that 3-point game to the Sixers roster, or would it be Robin Lopez? Let me know by typing their initials down in the comment section here. Coming in at number 2 is Nerlens Noel. What a precipitous fall for Nerlens Noel in his NBA career. Sixers draft him, has some success out of Kentucky. If he didn't fall into the backstop while playing for John Calipari, he might have been the number 1 overall pick with the Sixers. A lot of length to get in the way of passing lanes. He, of course, protected the rim. A little 2-man game. You could throw the lob up to him. He was able to throw down some dunks. But as time has gone on, Nerlens Noel's stock has gone down, and now he's without a job, and teams seem to just want to stay away from him. I still think that he can be active, pass deflections, blocking shots. He can be that lob thread. Career stats, 7 points per game, 6 rebounds, block and a half, 54.5% from the field. But there's clearly something here that teams are scared away about, right? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a locker room thing? Is it an effort thing? Because as an athlete, Nerlens Noel can play. The game has passed him by a little bit because now bigs can let it rip from 3. Nerlens Noel doesn't have that in his pocket, but there was that situation about him trashing a Philadelphia apartment, and now teams that have had him have envisioned big roles for him, and then they haven't played him at all, where he's getting DNP'd, and now he's without a job. So something fishy there. I don't have any sources to kind of find out that information. Today's 76ers Now is sponsored by Prize Picks. They're making daily fantasy sports easy and the best deal that any DFS app has to offer. $100 deposit match if you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on their projected stat lines. And I'm telling you right now, producer Chip, who you've seen on the show, you've seen on the YouTube Shorts because he's a content daddy, you got to tail him with his Prize Picks because he knows what's going down. On Wednesday, He was the Demon Slayer on Prize Picks. Draymond Green, more than 5.5 rebounds. Paul George, more than 3.5 assists. He's the Demon Slayer. He's the Goblin Slayer. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Now that the NFL season is done, you can still combine your picks. College basketball and NBA, NBA and NHL, Major League Baseball. I love that pitchers and catchers are reporting. You can combine those picks as well. Link is down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Free agent target number 3, Dwight Howard. Nerlens Noel, former Sixer. Dwight Howard, former Sixer. A couple of years ago, I ran into him at a Whole Foods in Dallas. Really tall dude who looks to be in great shape. And his career stats, I think he's a future Hall of Famer. I thought that his time with the Orlando Magic, best player on that team, MVP, great two-way player. Of course, never added the 3 to his game because when he came into the league at a high school in Georgia, bigs weren't really shooting threes at that time. The career numbers, of course, very, very good. And I actually thought he was a really solid backup center for Joel Embiid a couple of years ago under Glenn Rivers. 7 points per, 8.5 rebounds, block per night, almost 59% from the floor. He can still climb the ladder, and he can block some shots. He can throw down some dunks. He moves well up and down the floor. Obviously, with some things that have happened off the court, may have scared some teams away. He did play overseas last year, put up some stupid numbers. Dwight Howard, I still think he could play in this league. Is a team willing to take a chance on him? I don't think that Dewayne Dedmon can play in the NBA any longer. We saw that last year where it wasn't really a part of the playoff rotation, and he's just older. He, too, doesn't really pop the 3 either, not moving as well as he used to. But what's the theme of today's 76ers now? The Sixers need players who can rebound the basketball, crash the glass, a backup center for Joel Embiid. And all of these players kind of fit that bill. So you pop this up here, Chip, and you look at the bigs that we've talked about. Robin Lopez, Dwight Howard, Nerlens Noel, Dewayne Dedmon. I think 3 of these players can still play. That's Lopez, Dwight, as well as Nerlens Noel. Robin Lopez is probably the best, and he's also the player who still had a role on a playoff contender in the Milwaukee Bucks. So I'm going to type my L for Robin Lopez. Dwight Howard, lob threat, pretty good athlete who can block some shots. Nerlens Noel, that twitchy player. And I think for Dewayne Dedmon, his best days are behind him. After you sign one of these bigs, you could also bring Danny Green back to Philadelphia. Makes an impact on the culture. Always a good three-point shooter. A 3-time NBA champion with the San Antonio Spurs, Toronto Raptors, and then the following year, he went back-to-back with the Lakers in the bubble, started the season with Philadelphia. And I think from a defensive standpoint, offensive standpoint, he would just fit. Can still play defense in garbage minutes coming in at the end of the bench. And then he can knock down some threes from time to time. He really can knock it down from that corner spot. And you're not going to have to rely on him to play all that much. And as we know, the Sixers really do respect who he is as a player and who he is as a person. And when it's all said and done, I think he's going to be really good in the broadcasting space. If the Sixers make a move, we're going to let you know. We're going to break it down here on 76ers. Now, that's why you subscribe. Thanks to all of the legends who got us past 14,000 subscribers. And let's beat Celtics today.